Many stories in China begin like a fairy tale and end like an obituary. High-speed rail is a classic example. Just over a decade ago, it was a symbol of China's rise, a point of national pride shared all over social media. We saw trains flying, bridges and tunnels forming vast networks, and it felt like prosperity would follow the tracks wherever they went. But here in 2025, you'll find that those gleaming railways are turning into scrap metal. Luxurious stations are being taken over by weeds, and the small cities that once celebrated high-speed rail have been dragged into a deep hole of debt. The latest data shows that in the first half of this year alone, over 17 cities had their high-speed rail services cut, suspended, or completely shut down. The outcome is the same everywhere. No more buses to the station, no taxis, closed shops and property values cut in half. High-speed rail didn't bring prosperity, it took away what little life was left. Take Linxia Gansu, the last prefecture in the country to get high-speed rail. It opened in late 2024, but didn't even last a year, shutting down in the spring of 2025 due to a lack of passengers. It sounds like a joke, a project that cost over 20 billion yuan and couldn't even predict its first year's ridership accurately. What's more absurd is that this isn't an isolated case. Yibin West Station in Sichuan, Fuyang West Station in Anhui, Panzhou Station in Guizhou, and Puyang East Station in Henan, all once praised by the media as transportation hubs that would change local fortunes, are now empty, quiet places where you can hear the wind. The stories from these places are remarkably similar. Once the high-speed rail was announced, local governments immediately began building new zones, tearing down old neighborhoods, and taking over farmland. They drew up grand plans and made promises faster than the trains could run. Become a provincial subcenter in 3 years, double our GDP in 5. But when the lines finally opened, the trains came, but the people didn't. The platforms were empty, and there wasn't a single person waiting in the ticket office. According to a taxi driver in Panzhou, Guizhou, the station was very busy in the first few months, with people selling breakfast, offering rides, and waiting for relatives. But then the number of trips was reduced more and more. Now there's only one trip a day, and aside from the staff, you rarely see any passengers. Why? Because the tickets are expensive and the local economy never took off. People would rather squeeze onto a bus or a slow train than pay 2 or 3 times the price for a high-speed ticket. For migrant workers making less than 3,000 yuan a month, high-speed rail is a luxury they can only look at, not afford. The most painful part is that a shutdown isn't just a transportation issue, it has ripped open the financial wounds of these cities. To build the high-speed rail, local governments often went to great lengths, taking on debt through loans and land sales, essentially using up decades of future revenue. When the high-speed rail failed to bring the expected people and investment, these debts became a noose around the city's neck. Today, many 3rd and 4th tier cities are in financial distress. Public hospitals can't pay staff, teachers' salaries are delayed, and road maintenance has stopped. Yet the lights at the high-speed rail stations are still on. They stand like empty monuments, reminding people of a high-stakes gamble and the desolation that followed. The bigger irony is that the leaders who approved these projects have long since been promoted, transferred, or retired. The ones left to pay the bills are ordinary people. Your taxes, the price of your groceries, your rent and utilities, and even your children's school fees are all helping to pay off the debt for a high-speed rail that no longer runs. The rail was meant to bring cities closer, but in many parts of China, it has instead pushed a better life further out of reach. You might ask, why do they have to shut it down? Wouldn't it be better to lose a little money than to cut off a city's transportation? The problem is, these railways aren't losing a little money. They are a massive financial black hole. According to data from China State Railway Group, by the end of 2024, the national railway debt had exceeded 6.1 trillion yuan. High-speed rail is the biggest driver of this cost. What's more, the debt is increasing by nearly 8% a year. It's not running a train, it's a race toward a cliff. Local governments are having an even harder time. A 200-kilometer high-speed rail project often costs over 20 billion yuan, and local governments have to find a way to cover half or more of that amount, by selling land, taking on debt, and pressuring companies for funding. With the land-based economy having already collapsed and real estate not selling, the debt has become a runaway snowball. This leads to absurd situations. A local government that is 3 months behind on paying its sanitation workers still has to spend tens of millions of yuan a year to maintain a station that almost no one uses. A small city hospital may be short on doctors and medicine, but there's still a budget to build a scenic road leading to a deserted public square outside the station. Even more desolate is the illusion of the high-speed rail new zones. In Kaili, Guizhou, Tianshui, Gansu, and Fuyang Anhui, these planned new zones have all become ghost towns. The roads are empty, traffic lights flicker, construction projects have been abandoned, and office building windows are covered in dust. The signs for the investment centers broke long ago. The only thing still functioning might be the marble monument in the town square that reads, "High-Speed Rail New Era." This kind of story is all too common in China's infrastructure history. The solar power industry went from a global scarcity to massive oversupply in under 4 years. The shipbuilding industry went from being the world's largest to having numerous shipyards close in just 3 years. The electric vehicle boom, once universally celebrated, led to a wave of bankruptcies in less than 5 years. High-speed rail is no different. The magic of a centralized system is that once an industry is chosen, it is quickly elevated to a high point, only to be brought down just as quickly. The logic behind all of this is not complex. In this political system, every economic project is primarily a political task and only secondarily a business venture. The success of a political task is measured not by profit, but by construction speed, investment size, and public relations. So even when officials know there aren't enough passengers, they push the project forward. Even when they know it will lose money, they hold a grand opening ceremony before their term ends. As for the debt and the consequences, that's someone else's problem. The ones who really pay are ordinary people. You'll find that while your city has lost its high-speed rail service, your water, electricity, gas, and parking fees continue to increase. Your children's school starts charging for extra services, and your doctor's appointments and medical fees get more expensive. This is how local governments are spreading the interest on the high-speed rail debt to every citizen. So, when a high-speed rail station closes, it doesn't just sit there quietly as if nothing happened. It acts like a silent vampire, still drawing blood from your life. The trains may have stopped, but the debt is still running. On bank ledgers, in government deficits, and in the various fees you pay every month. You may think you've only lost a train, but you've actually lost a piece of your future. What's even more frightening is that this wave of shutdowns is just the beginning. Transportation is a city's lifeline. Once the high-speed rail is cut off, the surrounding economy is starved, and its organs quickly waste away. You'll see shopping centers closing, office buildings becoming empty, property values falling, and young people moving away, leaving only the elderly and children. In the first half of 2025, the GDPs of Lupanshui, Guizhou, Linxia, Gansu, and Chongzuo, Guangxi all fell by more than 5% year over year. The service and retail sectors were hit the hardest, with shop rents dropping by half and still not finding tenants. Some taxi drivers say they are lucky if they can make 100 yuan a day. The central government's response is even more disheartening. They won't admit that high-speed rail was a failed investment or directly announce bankruptcies. Instead, they use gentle-sounding phrases like optimization adjustments and upgrades to hide the truth. The media is told to downplay or ignore the stories. Even when passengers complain on social media, their posts are quickly deleted. This silence is more terrifying than a direct announcement of bankruptcy because it means no one will be held responsible, no one will learn a lesson, and no one will stop the next even bigger bubble from forming. Don't forget, there's a new set of high-speed rail projects being promoted in China, but they've changed their names. They're called low-altitude economy, smart cities, and hydrogen energy transportation. The model is the same as with high-speed rail. A frenzied rush to launch projects, massive investments, overwhelming propaganda, and local governments going to extreme lengths to cooperate. In the short term, it looks like a boom, but in the long term, it will inevitably lead to a debt crisis. If the high-speed rail bubble was the financial time bomb of the past decade, then these new industry bubbles are the minefield of the next. Today's shutdowns are just the beginning. The real collapse is still coming. Thanks for watching and joining us on this journey to unveil China's many layers. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and hit that subscribe button to stay updated. See you in the next video.